Most sport ATVs enjoy significant horsepower gains by addressing the Big-3 engine upgrades. The Big-3 refers to utilizing a freer-flowing exhaust, air intake system, and the necessary jetting or fuel mapping changes to match the increased airflow. More stringent EPA standards have made things a bit more complicated, with the introduction of an air induction system on Yamaha sport ATV models. It injects air from the intake into the exhaust to help burn off any remaining fuel that makes it past the combustion chamber, causing some minor backfiring under deceleration. This, and the accompanied leaner running conditions at lower RPMs, left 2014 and newer YFZ450Rs with an occasional minor hesitation or bog at lower RPMs when you crack the throttle. This becomes far more pronounced with the use of a freer flowing exhaust or intake without proper tuning and the mechanical setup to match. For this YFZ450R Big-3 Test, we're pairing up a Dasa Racing exhaust, fuel customs intake, and a PEP Tuning ECU Reflash, in search of getting the most performance possible out of the stock engine, while keeping things simple and relatively affordable. Fuel Customs has been a leader in modern sport ATV intake design for some time. Testing many aftermarket exhaust systems with their intakes, Dasa Racing produces one of Fuel Customs' favorites due to their performance, construction, and ease of maintenance. PEP Tuning tells us that the Dasa Racing exhaust and Fuel Customs intake are the ultimate combination for the stock YFZ450R, so we knew our intake, exhaust, and tuning solutions should work beautifully together. The first step in getting your 2014 and newer YFZ450R running its best is blocking off the air induction system. Our test unit had an air induction system block-off kit from 38 Motorsports installed. It helps eliminate the backfiring under deceleration, eliminates the clutter of the air induction system, and is necessary for proper tuning with an air-fuel sensor. Dasa Racing exhausts are handmade in the USA. Beautiful TIG welding is used throughout, fitting of a high-end performance exhaust. The head and mid-pipe feature 304 stainless steel construction with an aluminum silencer body and end cap. The end cap and mid-pipe attach to the silencer body using Allen screws instead of rivets for easier repacking or replacing of individual parts. Billet silencer mounts add both looks and strength to the exhaust. The silencer and Dasa logo are available in a variety of colors to match your machine. A billet end cap adds to the exhaust aesthetics. The exhaust expanding multi-step design is said to allow a greater expansion of exhaust gases for a broader power band without sacrificing peak horsepower. According to Fuel Customs, the Dasa Racing exhaust adds around 7 to 8 peak horsepower. Sound output is a claimed 102 decibels at 4,500 RPMs, which should be legal at most tracks according to Dasa. Dasa is now offering a new AMA edition exhaust designed to meet the AMA's 96 decibel limit for racing. Fuel Customs intakes and airboxes are constructed of a rotary mold plastic. They feature a taper design and increased volume in search of increased throttle response, horsepower, and torque across the RPM range. Fuel Customs harder material is claimed to increase the intake pulse, improving every aspect of performance. When paired with a good aftermarket exhaust, they're said to add 9 to 10 horsepower, with the intake adding an additional 2 horsepower at peak, 5 to 6 horsepower in over-rev, while reaching peak torque faster. Fuel Customs intakes are available with or without an airbox, which adds some added protection against splashing water and flying debris without sacrificing horsepower, which is why we always utilize their airbox with their intake. Fuel Customs airbox intake systems come with their high-flow 8-layer K&N style air filter, utilizing Fuel Customs' own proprietary material, with 4 additional layers of material for a greater level of filtration. An outerwear pre-filter is included for added protection and reduced maintenance. We've asked for it, and Fuel Customs is now offering foam outerwears for their filters. They suggest running it dry for added protection in mud and wet conditions. We'd oil it up a bit for added protection against dust and fine silt, but your machine will run a little richer. 2014 and newer intakes offer hookups for the air induction system. If you have a 2013 or older model or are running an air induction system block-off kit like us, you can order an intake for the older models for a cleaner install. PEP Tuning is a subsidiary of legendary PEP Suspension. They specialize in all things tuning, from complete aftermarket ECUs to piggyback fuel controllers. PEP started providing tuning for the YFZ450R stock ECU in the Pro Stock class at the ATV Motocross Nationals, due to the stock quads running extremely lean from the factory. From there, PEP created tunes for basic mods like removing the airbox lid, running different filters, and adding aftermarket exhausts. The ECU Reflash is best suited to trail riders and racers wanting to stick to the big three, according to PEP, for around $350 including shipping. The stock ECU is retuned for fuel and ignition timing to match your setup. Premium piggyback programmers like the similarly priced Dynajet Power Commander 5 add features like raising the rev limit, setting the throttle position sensor, and auto-tune capability, with the addition of Dynajet's add-on auto-tune module. Piggyback fuel tuners are a little more complicated to wire up, and you'll be hooking up a laptop for tuning or to send different maps to figure out which one works best with your machine's setup. An aftermarket ECU provides the added ability to fine-tune injection timing, fan on temperatures, turn off tip-over sensors, adjust starting parameters, idle RPM, plus launch mode, various ignition curves, and traction control capabilities, plus more. Sky's pretty much the limit with what can be done with an aftermarket ECU. However, they cost around $800 and tuning can be very expensive. PEP tells us that nothing provides the throttle response of an aftermarket ECU, but you have to decide if your needs justify the investment. As a setup for a practice or local race machine, we decided to go with the least expensive and least complicated option and had PEP reflash our stock ECU. They have fuel mapping and ignition settings specifically for the Dasa Racing exhaust and fuel customs intake, in addition to other popular exhausts on the market. We received our Reflash stock ECU back within a couple weeks. It plugged right in and was ready to go. We borrowed our YFZ450R from Trimble Motorsports Racing program. They typically use Maxima Racing products to maintain their machines. Prior to testing, our YFZ450R received a fresh oil change. The Trimbles run Maxima Premium engine oil for practice purposes, with Maxima Sin Blend for race days, where the quad is pushed harder with less time for oil changes. We ran 98 octane pump gas for testing to prevent any performance gains from running boutique race fuel. Testing took place on a private motocross track. Test rider Evan Hartzell races cross-country on a pair of YFZ450Rs, giving him a good amount of experience on lightly modified Yamahas. Whether the quad was cold or warm, our freer-flowing YFZ450R fired up quickly, our first positive sign from the PEP Reflashed ECU. On the track, the YFZ ran pretty flawlessly. Throttle response was good, regardless of RPM. We were impressed with how much fuel we could dump with the throttle while lugging the engine at lower RPMs, with none of the bog that YFZ450Rs are claimed to suffer from. This proves to us that a great running YFZ450R has more to do with who's doing the tuning than the tuning device. Although, as we've noted, piggyback fuel tuners and aftermarket ECUs can unlock even more performance. The only time the engine ever bobbled was on crushing jump landings when we tried to pin it after landing, instead of landing on the gas. The Dasa Racing exhaust combines beautiful construction with a big bark and the horsepower increase to match. We certainly felt the difference compared to the stock exhaust, with notably more power available at all RPMs, especially from the mid-range up. Dasa is responsible for building some of the fastest ATV race engines around, and we know of other motor builders who happily recommend Dasa exhausts. Whether you're simply uncorking your stock engine like we are, or building a monster race motor, the Dasa Racing exhaust for the Yamaha YFZ450R is a starting point that's pretty hard to beat. Evan's YFZ450R has been raced with different aftermarket exhausts in conjunction with a Vortex ECU, which should add performance. And yet, according to Evan, it doesn't feel as powerful as the YFZ450R we're testing here. Getting the most out of the Big-3 engine upgrades is about balancing intake, exhaust, and tuning. Evan's YFZ lacks the freer flowing Fuel Customs intake, which made a difference in performance he could easily detect. Overall, the YFZ450R feels more unstoppable and stall-proof at lower RPMs, although it still needs to be kept in the mid-range and up to make serious power. Mid-range power is noticeably stronger feeling racing out of turns and uphills, with a welcomed increase in top-end power and over-rev on long straights. Compared to a stock machine, this YFZ450R is certainly faster and easier to ride, at either a casual or a race pace. Rid of its restrictions, free-flowing and fine-tuned, Yamaha's YFZ450R delivers a satisfying increase in performance and fun. Working with well-respected aftermarket companies' products that admittedly work well together, we were confident in combining the Fuel Customs intake, Dasa Racing exhaust, and PEP Reflashed ECU, and came away very impressed with the results. For more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to ATV On Demand, and check below for links to the products used in this video. Thanks for watching.